Hey Lakers fans, sit tight, because today we are diving deep into a story that has been stirring up a lot of conversation across the NBA, and it involves none other than Kawhi Leonard. If you thought you knew the full story about his path and why he ended up where he did, stick around because the details go way deeper than the headlines ever covered. So let's set the stage. Back in 2019, the narrative across the league was practically unanimous. Kawhi Leonard was destined for Los Angeles, ready to join forces with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, a pairing that on paper seemed unstoppable. The Lakers were reportedly lining everything up, a championship blueprint ready to be executed, and it seemed like all the pieces were falling perfectly into place. The anticipation was massive, and fans everywhere were imagining what a team like that could achieve, picturing dominant playoff runs, multiple championship banners, and a core that could define an era. But then, in classic NBA unpredictability fashion, Kawhi Leonard made a different choice, one that shook the entire landscape. Instead of heading to the Lakers, he signed with the Clippers, setting off a chain reaction that would alter the trajectory of multiple franchises. On the surface, the reasoning was tied to Paul George, with reports suggesting that Kawhi's decision was influenced by a larger plan to bring George along, effectively building a duo in Los Angeles' other team. But as we peel back the layers, things start to look far more intricate than a simple player preference or trade calculation. Fast forward a few years, and we now see that Kawhi's move was part of something even more unusual. In 2022, it came to light that Steve Ballmer had structured a deal to pay Kawhi Leonard $28 million over a 4-year period through a shell company, a setup that raised eyebrows across the league. This wasn't illegal, at least not by law, but it was certainly designed to navigate around the NBA's salary cap rules in ways that are technically allowed, but certainly frowned upon. It's the kind of maneuver that happens more often than fans realize, especially at the superstar level, where money and influence create opportunities for deals that most of us could hardly imagine. The fascinating part about this story is the way it forces us to think about the decisions players make and how outside influence, ownership, and financial incentives can shape the course of entire franchises. Kawhi Leonard was being paid in ways that might seem mysterious or excessive to the average fan. But in reality, arrangements like this are part of a complex ecosystem where endorsements, ownership interests, and off-the-court agreements intersect. Teams and owners leverage relationships, celebrity endorsements, and strategic incentives to attract and retain talent. Steve Ballmer, being one of the richest and most influential owners in the league, was in a position to structure creative financial arrangements that benefited both the team and the player. The NBA keeps a close eye on these things because they touch the integrity of the salary cap system, even if no laws are broken. Essentially, it's a gray area. Nothing illegal, but certainly eyebrow-raising from a league governance perspective. Looking back to 2019, it's interesting to reflect on the what-if scenario for the Lakers. Imagine a team with LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Kawhi Leonard from the start. On paper, that lineup is almost unstoppable. Every Lakers fan had visions of playoff domination and multiple championships. But in the unpredictable world of sports, even the most perfect-seeming plans can unravel. Kawhi's choice to join the Clippers altered everything, and it begs the question, were there hidden incentives influencing that decision? Did the financial arrangements from Ballmer's side play a role in keeping him away from the Lakers? It's speculative, but it's fascinating to consider. The timing aligns in ways that make you pause and think, especially when you factor in Kawhi's injury history and the complex dynamics of team building in the NBA. In reality, the Lakers still managed to assemble a championship-caliber roster even after Kawhi fell through, signing players like Danny Green and filling key roles to capture a title. But the narrative of almost having Kawhi leaves a lingering curiosity. Could things have been even more dominant with him in the mix? Or, given his injury history, might it have been a disaster waiting to happen? When we consider the 2020 season, for instance, Kawhi was one of the few seasons he was actually healthy. If he had joined the Lakers, it's possible that the outcome might have been different, but it's far from certain. Anthony Davis has had his own set of injuries, and LeBron was already navigating the later stages of his career. The combination of these factors makes the alternate history of Kawhi with the Lakers a tantalizing thought experiment for fans, but one that comes with plenty of uncertainty. The broader lesson here is that the NBA is not just about on-court talent. It's also about the intricate web of decisions, incentives, and behind-the-scenes maneuvers that shape outcomes. Superstar players often operate in a world where their choices are influenced by more than just team fit or playing time. Financial considerations, relationships with ownership, endorsement opportunities, and even long-term health all play into the decisions that could define careers and franchises alike. Kawhi Leonard's path, including the arrangement with Steve Ballmer and the Clippers, highlights how multi-layered these dynamics are. It's a reminder that what fans see during games is only the tip of the iceberg. The real strategy often unfolds behind closed doors, in negotiations and agreements that most people never hear about. Even looking back at the 2019 narrative, the Lakers' approach demonstrates the delicate balancing act teams face. They need to position themselves for immediate success while also managing the uncertainty of superstar health and loyalty. The Kawhi situation shows how even near certainties in the NBA can fall apart due to unforeseen factors, including complex financial arrangements that only emerge years later. For the Lakers, it turned out okay. They won a championship despite missing out on Kawhi, but the situation serves as a case study in how fragile even the most seemingly perfect plans can be in professional sports. The irony is that Kawhi Leonard, despite the creative financial backdoor deals, ended up in situations where injuries limited his impact, showing that even with money and incentives, success on the court is never guaranteed. The Clippers invested heavily, but it hasn't always translated into deep playoff runs. Meanwhile, the Lakers were able to pivot and build a championship team without him, a testament to adaptability and smart roster construction. It's a fascinating lesson for any fan or analyst. The NBA is as much about strategy off the court as it is about performance on it, and the decisions of a single player or owner can ripple across seasons, affecting multiple franchises in ways that aren't immediately obvious. The public narrative was clear: Kawhi to the Lakers, deal done, handshake agreements in place, everything set for an era-defining partnership. Fans were already imagining playoff runs that would be remembered for decades, picturing LeBron aging gracefully while still dominating alongside a supporting cast that included elite wing defenders and sharpshooters. Every piece seemed to align. Danny Green, who had won a championship with LeBron before, was expected to slot perfectly, providing veteran leadership and a defensive presence on the wing. The pieces of the puzzle appeared flawless. And then, the twist: Kawhi Leonard chose the Clippers instead. Suddenly, the NBA landscape shifted dramatically. The Clippers, historically seen as the little brother franchise in Los Angeles, were now positioned to make a major splash, leveraging Kawhi's arrival alongside Paul George. On the surface, it seemed like a straightforward basketball decision. Kawhi wanted to pair with Paul George, a familiar teammate, and form a dynamic duo. But with the revelation of backdoor financial dealings and structured incentives, the plot becomes far more complicated. It raises questions about whether monetary arrangements or promises from ownership played a significant role in redirecting a superstar away from what seemed like a guaranteed championship scenario. For Lakers fans, the situation was both frustrating and fascinating. On one hand, the team had to pivot quickly after the news, scrambling to fill the void left by Kawhi's absence. On the other hand, it's remarkable how well the Lakers adapted. The team capitalized on the opportunity, signing key role players like Danny Green and others, and built a championship-caliber roster that went on to capture the title in the 2019-2020 season. In retrospect, missing out on Kawhi may have been a blessing in disguise. Considering his injury history, even a superstar of his caliber might have struggled to stay healthy through a grueling playoff run alongside LeBron and Anthony Davis. Kawhi's path with the Clippers was marked by injuries that limited his availability and, ironically, raised questions about the wisdom of that backdoor deal. What makes this scenario so intriguing is how it highlights the delicate balance between talent acquisition, timing, and player health. Even when a deal appears perfect on paper, there are countless variables at play. Kawhi Leonard, despite being a generational talent, has faced repeated injury setbacks, which illustrate how precarious relying solely on superstar acquisitions can be. The Lakers, by pivoting quickly, demonstrated the importance of adaptability and strategic planning. They managed to assemble a team capable of winning a championship, proving that while star power is crucial, roster construction, depth, and resilience are equally important. Now, let's examine the implications of the financial arrangements that surfaced later. The deal structured by Steve Ballmer to pay Kawhi Leonard $28 million over 4 years through a shell company isn't illegal, but it's a perfect example of how ownership and influence can shape player decisions. These types of backdoor arrangements are rarefied territory that most fans rarely consider, but they can have profound effects on team composition, player movement, and the competitive balance of the league. Essentially, money and creative structuring can create incentives that override conventional expectations of where a player should go. Kawhi's case demonstrates that superstar moves are not simply about playing for a winning team. They're influenced by intricate financial and strategic considerations that operate behind the scenes. When you put it all together, it paints a fascinating picture. Kawhi Leonard, who grew up reportedly admiring the Lakers and who seemed destined to join them, ends up taking a path that changes the NBA landscape, all while a complex web of financial incentives and ownership influence may have quietly guided that choice. For Lakers fans, it's both frustrating and oddly reassuring. Frustrating because they missed out on a potentially historic trio. Reassuring because the team still achieved the ultimate goal, a championship, without him. It's a reminder that in professional sports, flexibility and the ability to pivot quickly are just as vital as star talent. Thinking more deeply about the what-if scenario, it's impossible not to consider the ripple effects on both franchises. The Clippers, despite their ambitious acquisition of Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, struggled to convert that star power into meaningful playoff success. Injuries, chemistry issues, and the sheer unpredictability of the NBA playoffs meant that even a team with 2 generational talents could falter. Meanwhile, the Lakers capitalized on Kawhi's absence, demonstrating how strategic roster management, depth, and adaptability can sometimes outweigh pure star power. This juxtaposition offers a fascinating case study for sports analysts, fans, and anyone interested in the complexities of professional basketball. Furthermore, the situation underscores how NBA success is never guaranteed, even with the perfect roster. Injuries, timing, and chemistry can all derail a team that looks unstoppable on paper. Kawhi Leonard's injuries and limited availability for the Clippers illustrate how fragile these carefully constructed plans can be. Conversely, the Lakers' ability to pivot and still capture a championship highlights the importance of contingency planning and the value of having a versatile, resilient roster. In a way, missing out on Kawhi forced the Lakers to think creatively, assemble a cohesive unit, and ultimately prove that they could win through adaptability and strategy as much as star talent. The financial aspect of Kawhi's decision also raises fascinating questions about ownership influence in the NBA. Steve Ballmer's structured deal, paying Kawhi through indirect means over several years, demonstrates how ownership can shape player decisions in ways that are not immediately visible to fans or the public. These arrangements are technically within league rules, but certainly stretch the boundaries of what is considered acceptable under NBA salary cap regulations. It's an intriguing look at how off-the-court strategy intersects with on-the-court performance, and how the combination of money, influence, and opportunity can alter the trajectory of franchises in profound ways. Even now, looking back from a few years later, the story remains compelling because it encapsulates so many dimensions of professional basketball: player health, star power, roster construction, ownership influence, and the delicate balance of risk and reward that every team navigates in pursuit of championship. Kawhi Leonard's path, from a seemingly assured Lakers future to a high-profile Clippers tenure filled with backdoor deals and injuries, serves as a reminder of just how complex, unpredictable, and fascinating the NBA can be, especially when you dig beneath the surface and explore the layers that most fans never see. Before we continue, we ask that you leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Lakers updates. Moving on, the basketball world has been buzzing with speculation, and the latest rumor shaking the NBA landscape is the shocking whisper that Kevin Durant has reportedly signed with the Los Angeles Lakers. If true, this move would immediately reshape the balance of power in the Western Conference and perhaps the entire league, fueling endless debates about super teams, legacies, and the ever-evolving arms race in pursuit of championships. Durant, one of the most gifted scorers the game has ever seen, joining forces with the storied Lakers franchise evokes memories of past eras when Los Angeles seemed to always find a way to lure the biggest names under the brightest lights. The whispers around league insiders suggest that Durant was drawn not only by the appeal of Hollywood and its endless opportunities off the court, but also by the chance to pair his talents with one of the most star-studded rosters in basketball. While official confirmation has yet to be made, the excitement spreading among fans and media outlets is undeniable, with conversations turning to whether this move was inevitable or whether Durant simply wanted a fresh chapter after navigating years of criticism about his previous decisions and the narratives attached to his career. If this signing truly materializes, it would represent more than just another headline about a superstar finding a new home. It would be a seismic event with ripple effects that extend far beyond Los Angeles. The Lakers, who have long prided themselves on being a destination franchise capable of attracting transcendent talents, would be adding another Hall of Fame-caliber player to their already glittering history. Durant, whose skill set transcends eras with his combination of length, shooting, and versatility, would immediately slot into a role where he could dominate offensively while also easing the load carried by other established stars. Imagine the defensive nightmares opponents would face trying to contain a lineup that already commands respect across the league. Beyond the X's and O's, this potential move feeds into the larger narrative of how the modern NBA is shaped as much by player empowerment and mobility as it is by draft picks and coaching systems. The whispers suggest Durant was ready for a stage even larger than those he has graced before, a chance to cement a legacy in purple and gold, where championships are not optional but expected, and where every move is magnified under global scrutiny. Fans and analysts alike are already imagining what such a partnership could look like, dissecting rotations, playing styles, and the potential chemistry between Durant and the current Lakers stars. Some see this rumored signing as a masterstroke, a final piece to restore the Lakers to dominance in a conference that grows more competitive each season. Others, however, question whether Durant's presence might create tension within a roster already laden with egos, personalities, and ambitions. Would the Lakers find balance, or would the weight of expectations prove too heavy? The whispers swirling around social media paint both pictures vividly, with some fans celebrating the idea of Durant's silky jumper in the Staples Center, while skeptics warn of repeating patterns from Durant's past stints with other superteams. Regardless of the side one chooses, the buzz has already created a frenzy of anticipation, with ticket sales, merchandise demand, and media attention expected to skyrocket if confirmation arrives. It becomes more than basketball. It becomes a cultural spectacle, where Durant's decision intertwines with the mythos of one of sport's most glamorous franchises. For Durant personally, this rumored move is being framed as an opportunity to rewrite parts of his narrative and silence critics who have questioned the motivations behind his past choices. By donning the Lakers jersey, he would be aligning himself with a legacy that stretches from Magic Johnson to Kobe Bryant, from Shaquille O'Neal to LeBron James. It is a mantle of pressure, but also one of unparalleled opportunity. Lakers fans are notorious for their passion, their demand for excellence, and their quickness to both celebrate and critique their stars. Durant's arrival would immediately ignite debates about leadership, legacy, and the pursuit of rings in an era when super teams have become both celebrated and vilified. Rumors suggest Durant may see Los Angeles not just as a basketball destination, but as a platform to expand his influence culturally, socially, and commercially. The Lakers brand, combined with Durant's stature, could elevate him into an even greater global figure, blending basketball brilliance with Hollywood allure. While some detractors argue it could be another shortcut to success, others believe Durant has earned the right to choose his path, no matter how unconventional or controversial it may appear. Ultimately, whether this rumor proves true or fades into the endless cycle of NBA chatter, the impact of even discussing Durant to the Lakers demonstrates the power of speculation in the sports world. It captivates audiences, fuels debate, and keeps the league relevant even in the offseason. If Durant does indeed step onto the court in purple and gold, it will mark the beginning of yet another fascinating chapter in a career defined as much by bold decisions as by on-court brilliance. The Lakers, always masters of spectacle, would once again position themselves at the center of the basketball universe, where every game becomes must-watch television and every storyline feeds the drama that makes the NBA more than just a sport. For now, fans wait, analysts speculate, and the basketball community collectively holds its breath, wondering if the whispers will solidify into reality. And if they do, the league will never look the same again, as Kevin Durant and the Lakers could form the next great dynasty or the next grand experiment, destined to dominate conversations for years to come. Stay informed exclusively about Los Angeles Lakers news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep receiving daily updates. Also, share your opinion on the news in the comments, as your contribution is crucial for the Lakers. Stay tuned for the next video.